Now, from the Low Country's news leader, this is Live 5 News.
It's been 19 years since the terror attacks of September 11, 2001. We see how America is remembering the thousands of lives lost.
And there are more than 850 cases of coronavirus in prisons in our state. We hear from the head of the Corrections Department on how they're hoping to control the spread. But first, we have made it to the end of the work week and a few clouds over the Yorktown as we begin your weekend.
Meteorologist Stephanie Stein joining us from the First Alert Weather Center. So what can we expect as we inch our way into the weekend here?
A lot of what we actually saw and felt today, guys. So the humidity, you felt that if you were out and about. Also those rain showers, you probably had to dodge one or two today at some point. So that's what we're going to expect for the weekend. As of right now, though, we mentioned those clouds. You can see inland, though, pretty nice as we look live into Moncks Corner this evening. Not much activity out there. 80 degrees right now. Did have a high temperature up to 90. Was a hot day. We should be in the 80s for high temperatures, actually mid 80s. Heat index right now, finally those numbers starting to drop off in the upper 80s in North Charleston, 91, Kiowa, 83 into Moncks Corner. Let's talk about rain though. We saw one wave of moisture move through the area, really starting off along the coast this morning, pushing inland, had some dry hours, but now we're actually seeing one or two smaller showers popping up. You can see one right over Johns Island there, actually right along Maybank. Also south of Cottageville, you can see a shower, a downpour. Not much lightning with these, but might have to dodge one or two very light downpours into the evening. You can even see by 10 o'clock we're mostly dry, but still can't rule out one or two showers there. By midnight tonight, things staying dry. We could see fog develop once again. I think the past two mornings we've seen some low visibility out there. Could see that again tomorrow, and once again tracking more rain for the weekend. We'll talk more about the full forecast coming up.
It's a day the nation will never forget. It's been nearly 2 decades since the September 11th attacks. Today, the country continues to mourn the thousands of lives lost. That is a live look there in New York City. Terrorists hijacked and flew 2 planes into the World Trade Center in New York. Another plane slammed into the Pentagon, while a 4th, destined for the U.S. Capitol, crashed in a field in Pennsylvania after passengers tried to take it back. Ceremonies were held all across the country to honor those killed. New York City commemorated the day, but instead of the usual live readings of all names, they were recorded instead. In Pennsylvania, President Trump and the First Lady honored the heroes of United Airlines Flight 93 at the memorial for the passengers and the crew.
The heroes of Flight 93 are an everlasting reminder that no matter the danger, no matter the threat, no matter the odds, America will always rise up, stand tall, and fight back.
The National September 11th Memorial and Museum has been closed because of the pandemic. It is set to reopen tomorrow. Still ahead in our next half hour, we look at how the Low Country is honoring the lives lost during 9/11. We also hear from men and women in the military on how it changed their lives. That's still ahead at 7:30.
The South Carolina Superintendent of Education is pushing for hazard pay for school nurses. But today, lawmakers on one committee moved forward with a proposed plan that did not include this extra money for healthcare workers. Caitlin Stansel explains the debate.
The House Ways and Means Committee did not include hazard pay for school nurses in their proposed budget plan, despite recommendations from the state superintendent of education. Molly Spearman asked lawmakers earlier this month to give her agency the flexibility to use CARES Act funding to provide $1.5 million for school nurses. They could be asked to test students for COVID-19, and that increased risk for infection deserves more money.
We are close and strongly recommending that our school nurses be able to do testing at schools. It would be optional for those nurses to participate in that. That has not been totally worked out yet. We're negotiating with DHEC is working now to make that happen. But I think it would be very logical for us to reward our school nurses.
The president of the South Carolina Association of School Nurses agrees.
Being that we're on the front line and we're those first to be endangered, having to deal with not knowing at first if a person has COVID.
Representative Kirkman Finley says it's unclear if CARES Act funding can be used in this way. The proposal isn't totally off the table, though, and some hope lawmakers will find another way to include it.
A well child can learn better. Now I think through this pandemic, there's a better understanding of the need for nurses in all schools.
But 79 schools across the state still do not have a full-time nurse. The committee's proposed plan would help school districts fill those openings. From Charleston, Caitlin Stansel, Live 5 News.
Governor McMaster is also recommending giving $50 million to reimburse schools for COVID-related costs. This is only for public schools and charter schools that provide 5-day in-person classes. This is part of a proposal for Phase 2 of CARES Act funding. Lawmakers return to the State House on Monday. The State Health Department tonight reporting nearly 300 cases of coronavirus in public and charter schools in South Carolina. About a third of them are among students. These numbers include kindergarten through 12th graders who physically attend school on a regular basis. The State Health Department has broken the cases down by school district. To see if yours is there, are there any cases in your child's school, head to live5news.com and click on the big red box.
Still ahead on Live 5 News, a man is found dead outside of a hotel in North Charleston. The latest on the investigation after the break.